17. Hallelujah!
I mean, was anybody, again, besides the Johnson family, was anybody pulling for the Jets last night, especially when they got off to that 14-0 deficit? They were down, and then Tyrod Taylor gets hurt, and then comes Baker Mayfield. And oh my gosh, I mean, when Baker stepped onto the field, I get part of that was because the Browns were just looking for something to cheer about.
Right.
But when he started, I mean, it was that last sort of hurry-up offense at the end of the half. He gave them an instant spark, and it continued throughout the entire game.
Well, let's first talk about the entire game. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about Baker. You know, this was a game in the beginning where neither quarterback, Tyrod Taylor or Sam Darnold, looked good. And this is one of those where people will say, oh, it's a bad quarterback player. Look at the bad. This was one that was because of good defense.
Correct.
Great defense. Both these defenses, we said, were the best part of these teams going into this game, and they were both performing big time, especially early on in this game. And we know it by stats. The Jets blitzed more than anybody, and they were blitzing all the time last night. And it was hurting that Cleveland Brown offense. It was hurting Tyrod Taylor, who ended up going 4 of 14. But, you know, at one point, he and Sam Darnold, they were ridiculously low numbers. Sam Darnold wasn't throwing well. Sam Darnold was being pressured. You know, Myles Garrett had 2 more sacks. I think they had 4 on the night. So I give a lot of credit to these defenses early on until we got to the injury to Tyrod Taylor, and in comes Baker Mayfield. And a new day is born in Cleveland with a winning team and a new quarterback.
Yeah, so that became, I think, the most interesting part of the switch to me was how it sort of curtailed a lot of the Jets blitzing, because you didn't see nearly as much of that in the second half once Baker was in. It's like anything else. Going into every game, if we're up front on the offensive line and the defense runs some sort of stunt, if the tackle goes, you know, if the end comes crashing down, the tackle goes outside, and they get home on that, coach would always say, if you don't shut that off in the beginning, you're going to see plenty of it, because if they think they can get home with that, it's going to work. The Jets were getting home with blitz all early on in that game. I don't know if it was Tyrod Taylor, what role he helps in setting the protection, if it was just busts by the running backs, by the O-line in protection, but everyone was off, and they had no idea where the blitz was coming from. In the second half, and Baker's numbers against the blitz bear this out, once you take that away and show, I'm going to make you pay for that, it's amazing how much the Jets defense all of a sudden started to set back a little bit. They weren't as comfortable throwing all those bodies because they were getting carved up in the process.
Which is interesting when you're playing a rookie quarterback, as you always say, how do you attack a rookie quarterback? You either blitz him, really come after him and make him make a decision, or you sit back and you
This city deserves it. It's a good win. You know, we've been scrapping and clawing at the end of some of these games, our first 2. You know, we finally kind of put the pieces together. Ran the ball well, and I got the ball in our playmakers' hands. You know, that's never how I want to be able to play. I love Ty. He's one of our captains. So much respect for him. That's never the way I want to get in, but that's the mentality we need to have. Next man up. Got to be able to do our job.
Now, listen, I think what's really interesting, first of all, it's pretty clear that the teammates, when Baker got on the field, were pretty happy to see him in it. He provided a spark. There's no question about it. The place was electric. But that soundbite he just said, I never want to get in that way. Tyrod's our captain. I think that goes a long way, does it not, with the rest of the guys in that locker room?
I think so, having that sort of respect and admiration for a guy that everyone seems to in Tyrod Taylor. That's never been one of the things that people have questioned as he's come over in this, is that's a guy that teammates will rally around. Now, more of a quiet leader, certainly different styles between him and Baker Mayfield, but a tough exit for Tyrod Taylor, who quite honestly already looked like he was primed to get the hook at some point in that game, and the hit really just accelerated.
It was interesting before that game, you kind of were getting the feeling, hey, don't be surprised if you see Baker Mayfield in this game, game. Now, if Tyrod Taylor was playing great, you weren't going to see Baker. But it was like, okay, he had a bad performance in week 1, did Taylor. Better certainly in week 2. Where was it going to go in week 3? And as I said, both quarterbacks, because of the defenses, Darnold and Taylor, were not playing well. So even if he had not gotten hurt, I have a feeling the way it was going, again, Taylor, when he went out, was 4 of 14 for 19 yards, that you were probably going to see Baker Mayfield.
And he was missing some open receivers.
He absolutely was. Listen, he just didn't look good. He just didn't look good. And the one thing I will say about Baker, because there's all these comparisons made when Baker Mayfield was coming into the league. He better run around like Russell Wilson. He better be as accurate as Drew Brees. And I hate those because it's not fair, in my opinion, to compare to guys that have already done it in the league. A more fair comparison, because he had just come out, was, hey, is this going to be like Johnny Manziel, about the same size of Baker's, a little
heavier. You want to talk
heavier.
about comparisons he probably hates.
Well, exactly right. And, you know, a guy that moves around to make plays. They couldn't be more different. Johnny Manziel came in and didn't prepare at all. Wasn't the team guy, is looking at playbooks while he's flying to Vegas, admitted he didn't study while he was a backup. Baker Mayfield, before we even get into what he's going to be, and everybody just hold on, you know, we all had Sam Darnold anointed at week 1, and it's been a struggle. But the one thing I'll say, the dude is in command of the offense. He has the respect, it seems, early on from his teammates. He is prepared, and that's the one thing where you can impress your teammates, Mike, and we know this the most, if you know your business. If you know when that guy goes out on the field, we're going to be in the right situation and the right set. He's going to have us in that, and that gives us the best chance that we don't have to worry about mental lapses here.
Yeah, well, that's going to be the interesting part for me now, and I know we'll have plenty of time to kind of spin this forward, but I look for that now in week 2, because the one thing, and my first meaningful playing time in college.
You mean his second week whenever he played?
His second week.
We'll get into that.
His first real start, but the first meaningful playing time I ever had in college came in the same situation. Our starting center went out. We were playing Wake Forest, and you go in, and it's one of those things you don't really have time. You've prepared like hell before the game, not as a starter, but in the way you can. And you don't have time to really think about the gravity of the situation. You don't have time to think about everything in totality. You really just take it as it comes. And Baker Mayfield going in 2 minutes last night was that. Going into the second half, now this week when he's preparing full-time as the starter going into this game, how does that change it? Having the full weight of a game plan built around what you like and what you want to do as the central focus of this team, it changes your approach. Regardless, I don't care how hard you prepare as a backup, it just changes your approach in all this, and I'm going to be interested to see if there's a little bit of a letdown off of what we saw, because there's more that goes into the process.
Yes, because he is still a rookie. We're going to have to remember that as we go forward.
Of course they won on a Thursday, and the last one I think was on a Saturday. The last time the Browns actually won on a Sunday was in December of 2015. And by the way, you're not considered at 500 when you have a tie. So the week 1 tie with Pittsburgh, they were literally not at 500. So you look at the last time the Browns were 3 games into the season or more and at least 500, it was 2014. Wow. It has been a long time. By the way, it's been, here's some of the things that have happened in the world since the Cleveland Browns last won. 64 different quarterbacks have started games. 47 different quarterbacks started and won at least 1 game. The Browns have started 4 quarterbacks. Los Angeles got the Chargers back from the Rams to LA. LeBron James scored the most points in an NBA playoff. The U.S. missed its first World Cup. 3 new Major League Soccer franchises debuted. Neymar became soccer's first $200 million transfer guy. 12 different NFL teams changed head coaches. Teams in 3 different sports had their first titles. The Washington Capitals had another heartbreaking Game 7 loss to Pittsburgh. I mean, all this kind of stuff has gone on since they won a game. They won a game. And by the way, let us just say first, foremost, yea, verily, henceforth, now and forever, Bud Light won. More than the city of Cleveland. With all the talk about unlocking of those fridges, this is one of the greatest marketing promotions of all time.
I wonder how many people are not going to work today because they are absolutely hungover for too much Bud Light.
I tried to do that, and they said, no, I still had to show.
Yeah, well,
that would have been a
I'm enjoying meeting a bunch of new little bakers in 9 months.
Oh, come on!
You're exactly... Hey, I said that last week, and you whatever.
Yeah.
All right, Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive Insurance. Commercial insurance through Progressive protects your business and your dream. And it's no longer a dream for Cleveland. Choose from 30 different coverage options at progressivecommercial.com. Coming up, so who is going to be the Browns starting quarterback when they take the field yet? We'll hear what the head coach had to say about that and why one of our own colleagues at ESPN likes the DAWG in Baker as much as anything else. We'll get to all of that, Mike, after this.
If your favorite sport is saving on gas, you're in the right place. You can play along with 2 different teams the new Shell and Fuel Rewards card that can be used at Shell stations, and the Shell and slapped my knee. Yeah. But I have tapped my toe. So tapping my toe is a real thing.
Follow the show on Twitter at Golic and Wingo.
With great pride, I say, the Browns are in victory formation. Baker Mayfield takes a knee. Count it down, everybody. The Browns are winners tonight. And the drought is over. Led by the #1 overall draft choice, Baker Mayfield. They come back and win over the Jets. 21-17. Hallelujah.
That's the call on ESPN 850 WKNR in Cleveland as Baker Mayfield came off the bench, overcoming that 14-0 deficit and led the Browns to their first victory since December 2016. Cleveland's winless streak lasted 19 straight games. It was their first regular season win in 635 days. Good for them. Meanwhile, congratulations to the Boston Red Sox. The inevitable finally happened. They clinched the AL East with an 11-6 win against the Yankees. It's their third straight division title, the longest streak in team history. It was the 104th win this season for Boston, leaving them one off the franchise record set way back in 1912. And Tiger Woods takes to the tee today at the Tour Championship at East Lake, tied for the lead. Dropped an eagle on the 18th hole yesterday to shoot a 5 under 65. Not bad considering he started his round with a 3-putt bogey on the first. Again, he'll tee off at 2 o'clock. He's tied with Ricky Fowler, looking for his first win anywhere on the PGA Tour since 2013.
Sports Center is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Dollar Shave Club is amazing shower, hairstyling, oral care, and yes, shaving products. So no matter how you get ready, they have everything you need. And right now, you can get an amazing deal on any one of their starter sets at dollarshaveclub.com/Golic.
We lost our composure.
They throw it and Mayfield caught it. It's the Phillies special, Cleveland style. And we're tied at 14.
This whole ball game falls on me.
Darnold in the shotgun.
ESPN 850.
18 seconds left. He's got the snap.
Stupid mistakes in that fourth quarter.
Shooting it long and deep, and it's picked up.
I just got to play better. That's on me.
And it's all over here now.
Finally, it has happened to me right in front of my face, and I just
We are here in Philadelphia. Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, live from Chickies and Pete's in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Presented by Progressive Insurance. Our phone guest joined us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance
It's
line.
fantastic. I'm talking to the people behind me. I'm like, oh, what are you eating? Said cheesesteak with egg.
Yeah.
Over the top of
Yeah.
it. Awesome.
Why not?
Yeah, make it your own.
I mean, are you kidding me?
No.
That's
Can I order me up? Cheesesteak with egg. I'm taking that right now.
Wow.
All in. All in. So, by the way, just reading the Sports Center, it's amazing. Like Tiger Woods and the Browns had something in common. Hadn't won in a long, long time. I mean, who
That's
would
a
have
comparison I didn't see coming.
Yeah, you never would have thought that. But who would have thought that the Browns would break their winless streak before Tiger would?
Exactly.
That's crazy. Unbelievable. So we got a lot to get to today. And again, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. So not only did the Browns, and we are celebrating the Browns win because
Yes, we are.
My God, they deserve it. I mean, remember when Joe Thomas was playing a couple of years ago and they won that one game and Joe said, I think I'm celebrating one win a little too much.
Yeah.
It's like, no, Joe, everything happens in context, okay? The look on Hugh Jackson's face, the look on the Browns fans' faces when they saw the padlock chains drop around the Bud Light coolers around the city of Philadelphia, or excuse me, city of Cleveland, it was absolute euphoria, and they should be celebrating it. So as we look at this, one of the things that was really interesting is the spark that Baker Mayfield specifically gave to this team. And after the game was over, our own Darren Woodson, who, by the way, knows a thing or two about dogs from his days with the Dallas Cowboys in the 90s, dropped this little nugget on SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt about what he saw out of Baker Mayfield.
We always talk about energy, electricity, but sometimes you just need a dog. You need that guy that just has that swagger about him, that no fear about him. And I'm sure his teammates saw this in practice week in and week out. And when you watch this tape, you see a guy who came off the bench, and played with complete confidence. He knew what he was getting. He had a safety high, so throw up to the seam, throw it between the seams and between the linebackers to your best receiver in Jarvis Landry. Let him go get it, get the first down, move the chains. His swag and his confidence didn't change the entire game. He knew exactly what the defense were giving him. You can't teach that, Scott. I mean, this guy gets out of the pocket. And we saw this at Oklahoma. Didn't think it would transfer to the NFL, but it does.
All right, let me ask both of you that, because there is no doubt about that last night. As soon as he stepped onto there was a palpable sense in the stadium last night that you got the feeling that he was maybe going to play if Tyrod had struggled, which he did, and then he got injured, so that's why he came in. But all that stuff that Darren was talking about, I mean, your Eagles teams had a bunch of that in the 90s.
Yeah.
How much can that actually transfer if you're not winning?
It's different than any other position but quarterback. And so, Mike, you can answer better to this, being an offensive lineman and dealing with how you dealt with young quarterbacks or veteran quarterbacks. It sounds great when you win, but you have to separate. We'll get to the winning and the losing. It's just, I think, nice when you can look at that guy and say, okay, if nothing else, you know this guy is going to go head first into it. He's going to give everything he has. He's going to make mistakes because he's a rookie, but he kind of has that it factor to you where you kind of buy into him. Wins and losses, we'll see, because he's going to make a lot of bad throws and a lot of good throws, and they're going to lose, and he's going to throw interceptions, and he's going to throw touchdowns. But there is a vibe that I'm sure you guys on offense feel when a quarterback kind of has it.
Well, and especially when he goes out there and in that first drive, in that 2-minute drive, shows command and it looks like he's already settled in. That allows you, because you're getting a mystery behind you to some extent. You haven't been in that real game setting yet with this particular guy. And so once he goes out there and shows you, all right, all the stuff you've seen in practice, or all the stuff I've seen in preseason, or all the stuff I think about, I know about this guy off the field, now is backed up and is on the field, even if it's in that short stint, it lets you refocus on what you're supposed to do. Because to an extent, you're like, all right, how are we going to adjust with this guy? And when that transition is clean, it allows everyone to refocus on their jobs. And I think you saw a lot of that focus manifest last night.
I tell you what I liked as well is you saw the Baker Mayfield, and we know he can kind of create. That's where the comparison to Johnny Manziel, again, unfairly came in.
And hopefully ends.
But exactly. But he only, what 2 rushes for -2 yards? So he didn't even do any of that running downfield Baker Mayfield stuff at this point, because you know he will at times, and at times you may not want him to, but he will. And he could be dangerous doing that as well. So you like the way he was throwing from the pocket.
Look, there was one play I thought more than anything else last night that talks about what you're alluding to there, which is his ability to rush or his ability to be mobile. He used his mobility to throw.
Right.
There was I think it was either in the second quarter or in the third quarter. It was a third down. I think it was a 3rd and 5, and he dropped back, and the rush came from the right side, and he looked like he was dead to rights. He spun away, and he's not as fast as Russell Wilson.
No.
He's clearly not as fast as Michael Vick, but he was fast enough. And as he was running to the sidelines, he threw a dart to, I think it was Higgins, and he made the catch. And that was the thing that impressed me the most. Instead of just taking off and running, he was using his running to make sure he was still trying to throw.
Yeah, and that's kind of what guys, I don't know, Darren said it there, when you get that dog compliment. Like, that's a high compliment. That goes a long way in a locker room, because that's outside of winning, losing, success, or failure, and that's just you having that bit of edge to your personality, that little bit of edge to the way that you try and play a game. That's the reference there, and that's that kind of fight that manifests and shows itself in a play like that.
And for those watching a game, one thing to look at when you see a quarterback doing just what Trey said, if you want to notice where they are in their maturation process, when pressure starts to come around, and watch their eyes.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Are they still looking downfield, or are they looking at the rush? If they're looking at the rush, they're in a lot of trouble. That means they've taken off their eyes off the downfield. If they look again downfield, they have to readjust to everything they see again, because it changes in a split second. So look for those guys, the ones the better ones that learn to keep your eyes downfield while you're avoiding that rush.
Yeah, that was honestly, besides obviously the touchdowns to get the game going again, that was one of the most impressive plays I saw from him. So, of course, after Tyrod struggled and was injured, and then Baker comes in and does what he does, Hugh Jackson was asked the inevitable question. Hey, Hugh, who's your starting quarterback for Game 4?
Obviously, I like to watch the tape. Obviously, Baker did some great things. I mean, again, we don't play until next Sunday. We got some days. Let's not get into those debates tonight. You know, obviously, what he did tonight was outstanding for the football team and for his teammates, and just the way he competed. But again, I have to watch the tape, and we'll go from there.
Mike,
yeah, let's answer that
Well,
question.
Mike, that to me was out of respect for Tyrod Taylor. Yeah. To not just sit there and say, yeah, Baker's a starter. He's going to be the starter, but I don't think any coach is going to want to do it in that situation just to say no coach wants to make a snap decision. But also, I think out of respect, Taylor was a starter. Taylor got hurt in this game. It wasn't like he got pulled from this game, though he may have. He got hurt, and I think a lot of that was out of respect for Taylor, but I don't think there's any doubt that Baker will be the quarterback.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor is clearly a guy that Hugh Jackson values that, and the team does. We heard from Baker Mayfield before referencing Tyrod, their captain, and all these things. But from an outsider's perspective, now that we look at all this, so is Baker Mayfield either one of the greatest gamers that we've ever seen and a guy who doesn't show this in practice, or what the hell is Hugh Jackson thinking for the first 2 weeks of the season?
I think he didn't want to play a rookie quarterback.
I get that, but if you know that you've got this in practice with you, if you're seeing that every day and you're not putting it on the field, man, that's a weird decision-making to put out there if you're a head coach.
Look, it's always easy to say, how come if this was able to do in the game, how come you didn't see this in practice? There's a million different reasons. And look, let's not anoint him yet. He did a good. We'll get into that a little bit later. But the bottom line is, unless Baker Mayfield's arm falls off between now and the time they play the Raiders in Oakland on September 30th, he is going to be the starting quarterback going forward. All right, coming up, that's all good and well in Cleveland, but we're in Philadelphia here, and that was Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most available 4G LTE networks. But we are in Philadelphia here, and it's been great since the Philly special at the